All right, everybody. Well, hey, I know it's been a while. It's been a long time. I've had a lot going on at work, so I've been taking a little bit of a hiatus from recording the show. But in light of all that's been happening in the last week with the DC universe and everything, I thought it would be good for me to come on and just give you a sense of kind of what I'm thinking. I'll give you a little sense of what I'm speculating. I don't have any inside information, but I definitely want to let you know what I think is going to happen and what we can expect moving forward. So, the first thing is I just want to acknowledge that the Batgirl cancellation is really bad. The Batgirl cancellation is disappointing. It's not great for for filmmaking and for people who are wondering whether or not when you work with Warner Brothers, is your film going to be released? There's a lot of back and forth and speculation about how good the film was. In my mind, it doesn't matter. When you commit to making a film, when you greenlight a film, when you put a film out there, and you set up anticipation for the film, it's really difficult to see a justification for canceling that film, even if the film wasn't 100% up to snuff. Not every single movie has to be amazing. And, the directors and the stars, Leslie Grace, Warner Brothers themselves have said that they had no issue with them at all. That their performance, that their direction and their performance was top notch, and that they want to work with them again. And so, I think there's been mixed things about Batgirl. It probably was a mid-tier superhero movie, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I'm looking forward to seeing it because I think we will see it one day. I think it will leak, and I think that we will be able to watch it. But yeah, it is really a blow to the filmmakers. It's a blow to everybody involved, and it's a really sad situation all around. So I just want to talk about that. So that news came out on Wednesday, and I've got to be honest with you, I was feeling very dejected. My friends on Twitter were, kind of making fun of me a little bit, poking fun at my reaction because I was a bit despondent, to be honest with you, about about all of it, and it got me thinking about what they're looking for. But yesterday, Warner Brothers had their earnings call. And they talked. David Zaslav, the CEO of Warner Brothers Discovery, talks a little bit about what he envisions for the future of DC. And I've got to tell you, as much as I disagree with the decision to cancel Batgirl, a lot of this sounds really good and really positive. So let's rewind a little bit and talk about what DC was doing before, what the plan was before, and what were some of the elements of that plan. The plan was to essentially do what Marvel is doing in Phase 4 in DC Phase 2, quote unquote, the soft boot, the post Flash universe. So, from everything that we had heard, in speculation, rumors, leaks, etc., the idea was going to be that the Flash was going to set up a status quo where 70-year-old Michael Keaton was Batman, Wonder Woman was Gal Gadot, Aquaman was Jason Momoa. At the time, Ezra Miller was Flash. And then you had, those were kind of the main big tier superheroes. And then, other than that, you had Sasha Calle's Supergirl, Batgirl, who's going to be introduced in the Batgirl film, Shazam, and of course, Dwayne Johnson is introducing Black Adam, who I think is going to be a huge character post that film. So you're essentially setting up sort of like a secondary Justice League when we haven't even had a proper first Justice League yet. And I think David Zaslav came in and saw that. And as much as he might have been impressed with Sasha Calais, with Leslie Grace, with their performances, you know, it was kind of like, why aren't we focusing on these big characters, these massive IPs? Why have we given up just because people didn't like Zack Snyder's version? And so the sense that I'm getting from Zaslav is he wants to do DC phase 1, like basically year 0. Like he wants to, the actors might remain the same, but in some cases, but he's essentially just going to start from scratch. And Black Adam is kind of like going to, and from all intents and purposes, from what Dwayne Johnson made an Instagram post, he's been talking about the hierarchy of the DC universe changing. He's now shifted his language a bit, and he's talking about the Black Adam kind of starting a new era of the DC universe. And I don't think there's any coincidence of that and what was talked about in the earnings call yesterday. I think that that is very much the plan now. I think Black Adam is kind of being seen as the dawn of a new day in DC. And so, you know, even if we see something like Henry Cavill returning as Superman, he's not going to be the Henry Cavill Superman of the Zack Snyder films. He's going to be an all new incarnation of Superman with Henry Cavill playing him if he returns. Gal Gadot, she's going to be an all new incarnation of Wonder Woman than what we've seen in the previous films. But I gather they'll still let Gal Gadot and Jason Momoa pretty much do what they've been doing. The other interesting thing is that Ben Affleck returned to film a scene in Aquaman that was originally supposed to be played by Michael Keaton. Now, in test screenings for Aquaman 2, audiences were confused. Originally, the release order of these films was supposed to be The Flash was supposed to go first, and then Aquaman 2. But in the reshuffle, it's going to end up that Aquaman 2 comes out first, and then The Flash comes out after that. And so that's what's going on. Ben Affleck is still technically Batman within that. That all being said, I do not believe that Michael Keaton is going to be the Batman of a shared DC universe post-Flash anymore. I just do not. I think that is part of what went into the decision to cancel Batgirl, was they didn't want to set up this new status quo. I don't know that Ben Affleck is going to come back and play Batman, but I just think that there's a desire to portray these characters in their prime in like the most, you know, joyous, like incarnations as possible. Like that's the sense that I'm getting from Zaslav, is he wants to move beyond like takes on the character for the DC universe, and he wants to just portray the character, the best version of the characters that they are. And that's very, very exciting. So here's what I am going to speculate for now. I don't have any information. I'm not a scooper. I don't talk to people at Warner Brothers or DC or whatever. So I don't have any inside information. But what I'm going to speculate is that as far as Batman goes in the DC universe, we will see Ben Affleck at the beginning of The Flash. We will see Michael Keaton in the second act, portraying, all of us millennial fanboys will get our wishes and dreams fulfilled by seeing Michael Keaton as Batman again in The Flash. And then by the end of the film, what I think is going to happen is Barry's going to reset the universe, and we're going to see a new Flash, because Ezra Miller is having their troubles and will likely not be the Flash moving forward in the DCU. And we will have a new Batman. And that new Batman, I'm going to assume, is going to be an actor in his early 40s to differentiate himself from the Rob Pattinson version. He's going to have been Batman for 10 to 15 years. There's going to be a Bat family. We're going to have a Robin, maybe a Nightwing, or a older Dick Grayson Robin about to become Nightwing, and potentially Batgirl, maybe played by Leslie Grace. Although I threw out another option for Leslie Grace would be to be Jessica Cruz Green Lantern and be the main Green Lantern of the Justice League, which would be kind of cool. But that is what I think is going to happen. And so, yeah, so yesterday in the earnings call, they announced DC Studios. They announced a 10-year plan. They're going to spin the DC stuff out of Warner Brothers. So Warner Brothers technically is not going to have like oversight of the DC properties anymore. They're going to hire somebody to oversee those properties independently of Warner Brothers. And then, of course, Warner Brothers will distribute the films, likely under a DC banner. So Zaslav is doing the Disney Marvel approach. This is how Disney works. Disney has a bunch of different imprints, a bunch of different brands. And Walt Disney Studios acts as kind of the parent company that produces these films. So that's what Warner Brothers is moving towards. It's good news because, frankly, there's been a lot of meddling. There's been a lot of fear when something isn't landing, and a lot of second guessing by Warner Brothers. And I think it's going to be great, especially if they can find somebody who really cares about how these characters are portrayed. And that's the sense, honestly, as much as I think Zaslav sucked for canceling Batgirl, frankly. I actually get the sense that he really does care about DC, the way that it's portrayed. The cancellation of Batgirl isn't coming out of a malicious place. It's coming out of really wanting to make sure he's protecting the DC brand. And whether or not the film was good, obviously, I think it should have been released. But I can definitely understand where he's coming from, especially after the last decade that we've had of DC on film. Haven't really been able to get it going. Haven't had a Superman film. Haven't really, seen the sort of results that we'd like to see as fans from this. So overall, it's really, really exciting. Now, what about the other films, the sort of Elseworlds Black Label films like Joker and the Batman? I think that the unique thing about DC is they can do things like that because they have a studio, a parent studio, Warner Brothers, that really cares about artistic expression, that really cares about filmmakers, and I think that's wonderful. So I think that those things continue. Obviously, Joker, I can't say the subtitle, but I'm just going to say Joker 2. I don't want to attempt it. My last name's Legurn, but I don't speak a lick of French. So I think that this is a really cool opportunity. I think we're going to continue to see these kinds of things that pop up. If a filmmaker has an idea using a DC character in a really interesting, cool way, I think that we will see more films like that. I think that we will see more kind of experimental takes on the character, which is really cool. But I think the core DC Films division, we're going to see more of a classic interpretation of the character that's a bit more producer driven. But you know what? It's okay. It builds the DC brand. And guess what? When you build the DC brand up, when these characters become very, very popular, films like Joker that are, basically a character drama can produce $1 billion for you at the box office. So it becomes very, very, very profitable to portray these characters the way that they were intended to be portrayed. And you can make artistic films that do really well. You can make a Matt Reeves Batman movie that makes $750 million worldwide. That is basically a noir detective drama. So there's a lot of really cool things that you can do, and a lot of things that they'll be encouraged to do. So I think that those things continue. I think Joker 2 is coming up. We're going to get the Batman 2. I also think, unless we hear otherwise, we're probably still getting those spinoffs. Penguin, Arkham. I would love to see a Zoe Kravitz Catwoman series or film. And I think that there's a really great opportunity here for DC. So anyway, all that to say, I'm feeling much better about DC today than I did on Wednesday. I hope that you do too. Keep your head up. There's a lot to be excited about. We just have to be patient and hang in there. I think that as much as Zaslav is, sort of uh, making some moves that some of us that value art and entertainment might seem suspect, I think that he's got the right ideas about DC. So we'll see how it goes. And yeah, should be good. I'm really excited about the focus of the core of the Justice League to start before we move into, the sort of what we're seeing in Phase 4 of Marvel, which is great, by the way, but is just different than what, the reason we have Phase 4 is because we had the initial foundation laid by the core Avengers team. So anyway, thanks a lot. Take care.